and the morality police. What I find really interesting is that I've not seen any calls yet from certain Liverpool fans to reject these bids on moral grounds, who I've seen for weeks call out Man United about the idea of Qatari money coming in, who I've seen slam Saudis when they were buying Chelsea players, slam the Saudi Arabia takeover or the inclusion in the takeover of Newcastle, slam the money from Abu Dhabi at Man City and how poisonous and nasty it is, but yet celebrated the idea of raising £50 million for players they think are past it and being able to invest that £50 million into their squad. And that's the problem again with people being virtuous. It's okay, you have a go at Henderson because of his sort of the LGBTQ plus groups that he has supported. But how far do you take it? You do realize those regions of the world pay Premier League rights to watch the game in their country. Those Premier League TV right monies are then paid out to your football club. Your football club then uses that money to improve its football team, TV rights. There are multiple countries around the world who will have laws in their countries that, by UK standards, are deemed wrong or old or barbaric or whatever phrase people like to use. But you're happy for your football club to accept the money from them. I've called this out for many, many years. Talk Sport pay millions of pounds to be the exclusive radio channel, radio broadcast in the UK of the Premier League, which means they pay money to the Premier, who pay it to the clubs, right? Liverpool fans don't ask for their club to reject that money because TalkSport was owned by the Sun, but they should. But people don't, and that's my issue when it comes to all of the virtue signaling. And if you're against it and you want to criticize it, you're free to, and I think you should have the right to do it. But don't criticize on one side of your mouth and speak differently on the other. You should be standing there today demanding that your club rejects the bid. You should be slamming Klopp, slamming FSG if they accept the bid. You should be going crazy if they're not donating that transfer fee to charities that support the causes the money's against, rather than reinvesting it into your squad. But you won't go that far because it actually damages your football club. What you'll do is you'll moan about it publicly because it makes you look good, but ask for no tangible reaction. And that's the bit, again, the element that gets to me. These individuals never follow through with their actions, whether it be about an emotive subject like this, right down to not liking their owners. Football fans, especially English football fans, are as weak as gnat's piss. There is no follow through and there is no tangible action from any of them. It is all just lip service, virtue signaling, tripe, all of it. It really, really gets on my nerves. And for me, if you're against it, you're against it. But do something, prove you're against it. But you won't, will you? Like you won't actually go out of your way. You won't stop. I'm not saying don't support your club, but you won't boycott your club. There'll be Liverpool fans online today tweeting about it. They're not going to go and make videos consistently slamming the club. They're just, and rip into the club and name people and go for them. They'll have one little moan and then go back to supporting their club as normal. And it's like, well, what's the point of the whinge? What is the point of the whinging if you're going to do nothing at the end of it? That's my stance on this. Is always simple. I've never criticized the inclusion of any nation or individual from the Middle East because I know that I'm not going to walk away from Man United if we take money from that part of the world. Therefore, I don't condemn anybody else because therefore I'm a hypocrite. And all the Liverpool fans that have bemoaned the Qatari takeover because it's money from the Middle East, they don't like that region of the world, are now happy and willing to celebrate £50 million being invested in you. I've seen Arsenal fans do it with a banner in their stadium that says, "Say no to oil money." A stadium called the Emirates Stadium. This sort of stuff for me is just ridiculous. Millions of pounds a year is raised by the Premier League through selling TV rights to those regions of the world. The clubs accept that money, okay? The hypocrisy stinks. It stinks like morning breath. It's just, honestly, it gets on my nerves. It really, really does.
No,
I'm not saying people can't criticize this stuff before anybody twists my words. I'm saying stop talking out of both sides of your mouth because it's embarrassing.
No, it's just the way things are with football fans right now. They see things how they want to see. Only their club can get away with certain things, and everyone else is bad. Like it is what it is at the end of the day. Jordan Henderson, fair play to him. Go and get your P's, man. Go play for your hero, Steven Gerrard. And yeah, do what you're doing. But in terms of the footballing aspect, Liverpool, if they get rid of these two midfielders in Fabinho and Henderson, I actually think their chances of challenging for the league goes down. just for the fact that they're going to have to replace those two players with potentially younger players who are not as experienced as them to try and get them over the line. And I know Klopp's a brilliant manager, and we saw to the back end of last season that he can get those guys firing and playing. But to incorporate basically would be around 4 new midfielders into your system while having 5 of them leave, I think is a lot to ask for. It's not like it was one striker, a right back, and then 2 midfielders, different parts of the pitch where you can kind of manage. The midfield is the most important part of football. We've seen it for years now that you need to get that down, and they're about to lose Fabinho, who on his day is one of the best defensive midfielders in the world, and Henderson, who's got bags of experience, who's got the leadership qualities that they've been needed over the last few 5-6 years, and led them to different kinds of trophies, whether it be Champions League and Premier League. That's hard to replace in one summer. Now they can go out with the money, go out and get 2 brilliant young midfielders, or go get a Lavia. And in the long term, they'll be fine for it because they've already got Szoboszlai in, they've got McAllister. If they get a Lavia, or even a cheeky Caicedo now that they've got P's coming in, you know what I mean? Like, then in the future, be fine. But in the short term, I think it would hinder their chance to win the Premier League straight away. I think they'll be up there in the title, in the top 4 race. But if they lose both Henderson and Fabinho, I think it will damage their title race hopes, which I think many Liverpool fans will be having this season. And I think they could potentially go on to do as well.
I agree. If they don't replace Fabinho, especially with experience, they won't win the league. They can make the top 4, but it will be a failure of a season. Liverpool not winning the league next season is failure again. And they're, 7-8 seasons of Jurgen Klopp, 1 league title, isn't a good enough return for how good this Liverpool team has been. So I think with the £50 million they're raising, they may be looking at Lavia, but they need to bring in some experience into that team as well. And I'm not too sure exactly who that is. That's down to FSG and Jurgen Klopp to work out. But with Thiago missing listen, I can't see Thiago having a fully fit season and not missing periods of time again. That inexperienced midfield, listen, that midfield, if they get Lavia, Szoboszlai, and McAllister, ability-wise, it's brilliant. I think it's set for years to come. But is it good enough to help them win the league next season? Not for me. Maybe the year after. But yes, it'll be very intriguing if they let both of those players go. So yeah, very, very intriguing. It'll be hard to keep them now because if they're offering Henderson 700 grand, imagine what they're going to offer Fabinho, who's younger and better.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And one thing I will say quickly on Liverpool, because I got a Liverpool fan in there questioning, well, we need a change, and now that we're changing, you're moaning. I'm not moaning. I'm just saying this is a precaution of change. You know what I mean? This is potentially a possibility because of the change. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. Like, I think you should. I think you should rebuild. And I don't think there's any issue in rebuilding quick. People are slating Chelsea. But I'm going to give that more time before I say it's worked or not, because we've not really seen a quick rebuild before. So if Klopp wants to rebuild his midfield quick, cool. But this would just be for 1 season. I'm not saying forever. For 1 season, it might hinder your chance of winning the league. But in the long term, I think it'd be very good. So yeah, man, like I wouldn't overly complain too much about it happening as a Liverpool fan. I'll just be more concerned about, okay, what would we get in, and what would that result in this next season?
Yeah, I think what you've got to look at with Liverpool is that what they're doing now with their midfield should have been a slower process 3 years ago. These 3 players, and it may not be Lavia, Szoboszlai, and McAllister per se, but they should have all been introduced over the last couple of seasons. So there's a slow transition, and you never notice a drop. Now they're getting rid of all these players that have aged out, and they're putting all these new people together. They've got to create chemistry. They've got to learn each other's games. It's going to take time. This is from Studio Hook says, let's be honest. Gerrard is just he's just going, yo, man, them come over here. I've got you. We all eat. Yeah, there is a little bit of that, maybe. A little bit of that, maybe. Yeah. Liverpool fans are hypocrites. Well, not all Liverpool fans. I'm just saying, like, there'll be some, and I'm going to call people out they're hypocrites because The virtue signaling around money from the Middle East gets on my nerves.